The tilt is real. The tilt is real. This is when the tilt is real.
Welcome to another episode of The Tilt is Real Fantasy Podcast. Coming to you live from the chef's table, here are your hosts, James Crease and Juan Pena. Let's go.
Welcome in, Tilt Squad. It is December 21st on Monday, and we're here to give you our fantasy reactions of what happened on Sunday of Week 15, your semifinals. Join with me, as always, Mr. Juan Carlos Pena. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, Chef. Hey, we're still alive, and we're talking about fantasy football, so you know it's a great day.
And join with us, Mr. J.A.W.N. Swanson in the house. What's up, buddy?
Hang on one second.
Uh-oh. He needed that. You look like you needed that.
It was a rough day for me, boys. It was a rough day for me, boys. Let me tell you what. Sunday, I went into, the quarterfinals, the semifinals. I mean, I got rolled. I'm having a bad day. I've been doing a lot of drinking. Just glad I made it here. Oh, happy to be here, though, with you boys. Hopefully a lot of our listeners have made it to their fantasy championships. So I'm gonna ride that. I got one league left, but I'm going to ride everybody else's championships and call that a victory. Chef, how are you this evening?
I'm doing okay. I look a little bit crisper in the camera there. I got my shit in, and like we talked about, of course, I went out and ordered a camera, and my wife tells me that she got one for me for Christmas, like we discussed. Yeah, I'm in the doghouse for that. Thanks for asking.
Well, if there's any consolation, you look great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I feel better. Like I'm not worried about my camera cutting off mid-show, like we've seen the past couple times.
No more flicker in the camera, right?
You are right now, Mr. Swanson. You're having a little bit of a technical lag there.
And it's usually me, so that's a relief.
Yeah, Juan kept his game up. He redid his whole internet connection just for the Tilt is Real Fantasy Football Podcast.
I'm actually taking a chance tonight, and I came upstairs to do it because the baby's downstairs, and I don't want her to make noise. So I'm not hooked up directly to it, but I feel like it's going to be okay.
That's great.
Hopefully mine holds up too. I didn't know it was going out. We'll see. All right.
Yeah, well, we don't have that many games to get to since we had Saturday games this past week and a game on Thursday. But let's get right into it, fellas. Up first was the Buccaneers at the Falcons. It was a 1:00 game, and the Bucs, man, at the beginning of this game, I was trying to figure out what was going on, that the Bucs were not scoring. Down almost 17 points at the half, was it?
Yes. Yeah, they were down 17, Chef, and it was the blitzing, man. Atlanta was in the backfield the entire time. They weren't making the proper adjustments, and the line was getting destroyed, and they were getting home to Brady, and Brady was not happy going into halftime, but they made the adjustments at the half and made it a game later.
And they wind up winning 31-27. Tom Brady led a comeback from a 17-point deficit, and with that, the weapons on Tampa Bay had a very, very nice game, as predicted, pretty much, right?
Yeah, Atlanta's one of those defenses you want to target, and you want to take your chances, and you want to start those weapons and fire them all up. And we were a little bit low on AB because it was depending on that big touchdown, and that's the only reason he was 5 for 93 and a touchdown and had a really good game because he had that long touchdown score. So, but you like what you saw. Mike Evans, 6 for 110 was really, really nice to see because I predicted that last week against A.J. Terrell, who was the 95th ranked cornerback, and they picked on him a little bit.
Yeah.
And as we discussed yesterday on the Sunday Tilt, Ronald Jones was a scratch in this one. He was dealing with his finger, right? Wasn't it? And then he got put on the 2020 list because he went to an outside doctor, I believe. That's why the main reason. But anyway, Leonard Fournette comes into this game as the lead running back. And we've had our hesitations with Leonard Fournette before when he got the start. But yesterday was a different story, man. 14 attempts, 49 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. So if you had him as a pivot, you were happy with 21.5 fantasy points. Mr. Swanson?
He fell into the end zone.
Right.
He fell into the end zone.
It was the Todd Gurley line with 2 touchdowns.
Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly what I was
like
getting
the
at.
all year Todd Gurley line with 2 touchdowns.
The all year.
Well, that's a good segue because I heard a little bit of news coming into this, and we're going to talk about the Falcons next. They came out and said that Todd Gurley is no longer the starting running back for the Atlanta Falcons. It's Ito Smith that is going to be the lead back. And we saw it in this one, man. Minimum production from Todd Gurley, only 1 carry for -1 yards, 2 receptions for 15 yards. I mean, yeah, Ito Smith led the backfield, 6 carries, 24 yards. But if that's like, I don't know, that's like the deaf leading the blind or something. Is that how they say it? Blind leading the deaf.
6 carries for 24 yards, and you're the lead back.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, well, if he would have fallen in the end zone twice like Fournette, he would have been great, but he didn't. So.
Oh, man, he would have made front page news if he fell into the end zone twice.
If Atlanta had a decent running game, I think they could have probably beaten the Buccaneers. I mean, they stick to their guns here with Matt Ryan throwing the ball, 356, 3 touchdowns, gets fantasy owners 27.8 fantasy points for the day, utilizing his receivers, and that's what he does. Calvin Ridley, #1 wide receiver currently on the week. 10 receptions on 14 targets, 163 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, 32 fantasy points. Let's go. Calvin Ridley. That's a big day.
Sure is. That's why we said you can't bench him. And Russell Gage had a great day too. That's another one that we talked about filling in with the absence of Julio, and he showed up.
Yeah,
it's nice to see it that he got double-digit targets again, like he did at the beginning of the season with Julio being out, and he was able to capitalize on that.
It is.
That's something to think about going into your fantasy finals. With the Falcons up against the Chiefs, they will have to throw in that one, and possibly Gage is a nice fill-in if you have a hole, right?
For sure. And speaking of that, Chef, we got a couple people in the chat, and we want to say what's up to Justin. And Justin's saying that he got to the finals, thanks to Hurts and Tony Pollard.
I love that.
Yeah,
my man. That's what we like to see. We like to see the tilt squad in the finals.
But see, now this is great. This is great because he turns around and said, "But the Jets won." So he's mad. And I know he's a Jets fan.
Yup.
Right.
He is. I feel his pain because I mean, at this point, you tank this long, like you can't even get that right. Like you got to go ahead and win this game. You got to block that punt and take that lead, and then stifle the Rams. Like that was tough, man.
And not to get off a topic, but with the Jets, they had the New York Post had the print on the back page of the New York Post ready to go. Jets win and mess up their chances of getting that #1 pick. It's not out of contention or anything. I mean, they could still do it, which they probably will. Oh, man.
But the Jags have to win a game, Chef. Oof. If everything holds true to form right now, the Jags have a 74% chance of getting that #1 pick and Trevor Lawrence and turning that franchise around. And you never know, like you get, Riddick, Louis Riddick to come down there and be your GM. You could change things around, get a new coach and new staff. Maybe Bieniemy likes that with Trevor Lawrence.
I mean, it's possible. We have an interesting back and forth in the chat right now from a Jags fan and a Jets fan. Brad Urseg, welcome in, man. Fellow Jags fan here, very happy with last night. So yeah,
I like that.
He says, and we aren't winning a game against Chicago and Indy. I mean, listen, you never know.
You beat Indy week 1. You beat Indy in week 1. That's how you started this whole thing. That was their win.
Some teams have another team's number, man, when you don't expect it. So there's a lot of possibilities that could happen for the future of Trevor Lawrence, to say the least. So I'm sure that Brad Urseg and Justin are going to be keeping a close eye on that for sure going forward. And go ahead, Juan.
Oh, no, I was going to say that's going to give us content the whole offseason, and that's what we're going to be doing our shows on is who's moving where, who's going to go to what team, a little bit of a look at Dynasty, and all that, and we're going to be going through the draft process and evaluating talent and all that in the offseason. So it just gives us more material for shows. So I'm excited about the offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. And am I lagging right now?
You were a little bit, but you're fine right now.
Sometimes, okay. I'm okay right now, though?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds good, man.
All right. What I was going to say, just to piggyback on what Juan said, was Tilt Squad, if you're subscribed, if you come back after the season's over, stay with us. Most likely every Wednesday through the off season, we're going to talk about dynasty players. We're going to talk about guys coming up. I know a lot of redraft leagues are pivoting to dynasty leagues because, why would you not?
Right.
So we'll have all that stuff for you. Yeah, keepers, all that stuff. So we'll definitely be talking about that stuff going forward.
Fun fact that most of fantasy football leagues, 90% of fantasy football is redraft. And there's only a 10% of leagues, mainly on a huge website, got these numbers. 10% are dynasty, which is wild.
We need to get that number going forward.
I think that number's going up. I think we should. Yeah, let's get it.
And there's things like the quarterback carousel that's going to happen this year. Where's Wentz going to go? Is Phillip Rivers going to retire? What's going to happen to Tom Brady? All those rookies coming up. Even Big Ben. There's questions surrounding Big Ben and whether or not he comes back for another season. And right here, Trey S needs Big Ben tonight. He needs 12.42 from Big Ben to make it to the chip. Oh, he's got that in the bag against the Bengals. He better get that.
Yeah.
He better get that.
That feels good, Trey.
I would put my money on it. That's for sure.
Oh, I'm so excited to finally to play in the finals, Chef. And I usually have the bad luck of losing in the finals, but I think this is my year, bro. Like there's something that feels right about this, and I'm excited for next week.
Let's see. I can't wait to look at that lineup. See
I'm in 2 finals next week. Oh, I'll be tilting on Sunday. Oh, we'll be tilting on Sunday.
And I can't believe that only one is a week 17. Yeah, so going into what your Chef's, not to cut you off, but
no, go ahead.
Thinking the Jags have a possible win versus Mitch and the Colts rest the roster for week 17. As I mentioned, my only playoff team left is a week 17 championship. And if they rest Jonathan Taylor, come on, man.
Right. And we will be here for you guys on week 17, because there's a lot of people who do have leagues that follow all the way into week 17, and we'll definitely be covering that.
Yeah. We'll have some fun with that.
And
we're going to write up a tutorial on why you should not be in a league with week 17. But anyway,
it's just one of those things. Old age, you know what I mean? Like some
not
people
picking on anybody, but Mr.
Swanson,
what are you doing in a league with week 17?
Honestly, it's the league I've been in the longest. I've been in this league for over 10, 12 years or something, and it's just always it's one of those things. You know what I mean? It's just been that way, and it's just not gonna change.
They should call that the Don't Draft Mahomes League. Like that's the one they should call that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's something I probably would have considered at the beginning of the season. But real quick before we move on here, Brad Urseg. So we're talking about getting guys, starting some dynasty leagues and moving forward. So Brad Urseg would like us to, let's briefly explain what a dynasty league is, because he's always been curious.
Sure.
Chef, you want to take this one? Yeah, Chef. Go.
Yeah, I'll take it. All right. So a dynasty league is where you hold your players, usually have a 28 to 32 man roster, and you pretty much draft the entire league of fantasy players, and there's minimal waiver wire involved, although there is. It goes pretty deep depending on your roster, and you hold those players year round. Once you drop, forever.
They're forever. They're your forever players.
You do a rookie draft. You draft rookies coming out of college, coming into the NFL before the preseason starts normally, and that's exciting as well. So you want to target younger players, and they really become your players, like in a league that we're all in. I have Dalvin Cook, and I just drafted a bunch of rookie running backs and J.K. Dobbins and Cam Akers, and you want to see those guys grow, and you feel more of ownership towards your league. It's something that you want committed players to do as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to. These are the guys you found something you liked in them. You drafted them forever. Guys, like you said, like J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor. These are guys that are drafted to, you want to follow them and really keep them in your lineup. And
I just had a great idea.
What's that, Jeff?
I just had a great idea. We should do a Tilt Squad Dynasty League.
Bing, let's do it.
Yo, that's great.
Fire it up.
At least the draft, like a little draft or something for everybody.
Yeah. Let's start one.
And then get some listeners in on it. We could do a startup.
We'll run it on Sleeper. We'll do a startup in the offseason with the Tilters, 100%. With the Tilt Squad. And what it does is, Brad, it eliminates the finality of redraft. Like next year when you go into, you're like, man, I wish I still had Tyreek Hill, but I can't draft him this year. Because he's going to go way earlier and my spot's not there. And you miss out on those players that you really want to build your team around and that you want to have year in and year out. Like I'm fortunate enough.
Trade draft picks.
Right. You can trade draft picks. You can trade players and draft picks. You know what I mean? Oh, I like it, Justin. I'm a Dolphins fan. So that rivalry is going to be natural right here, guys.
Oh my God. I love it. I love it.
All right. So when we get closer to that, we'll reach out. We'll put something out on the website, on the social media handles, and we'll post something, get a full league.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
That sounds good. I already got
no money, just bragging rights. We'll just bragging rights.
Dynasties for keeps. It's like something that we're going to be doing for the next few years, and you make your moves based on that and based on the future. Like I got lucky enough to be the Mahomes owner, and it's a super flex league, and I made 17 roster moves since we started, and I just traded my whole team away and made it work. And it's so much fun to do, and it keeps the whole thing going year round. It keeps football from ending. Football doesn't end for us because it's 52 weeks a year. We got to be paying attention.
Yeah,
so that's what's awesome.
And it helps. It helps when you get to the regular season, and then you could talk about these rookies when they pop. Like, I drafted Salvon Ahmed late in a dynasty league. Then I traded him off, but he still popped. Who else?
Lynn Bowden, bro, my guy. We made a trade for him in the offseason, Chef, and you got him in the trade, and then we traded him for Josh Kelly, and we made moves, man. And
Antonio
these are guys.
Gibson was another one we knew was going to pop way before the season started. And Justin Jefferson. Yeah, plenty of players like Gabriel Davis. Who knew Gabriel Davis? I drafted Gabriel Davis.
Yeah.
We were on those guys. So that's something that if you guys are down for doing that, we'll definitely keep in touch in the offseason.
The Till Squad League. Let's do it.
And then we definitely need to do a listener or a viewer league for redraft as well for 2021 season.
Oh man, I'm really excited about that, dude. I'm so happy you said that.
We'll do one of those that'll be for charity, a nice one like that. Maybe we'll do a best ball too for charity. That would be cool because it's easier to manage. But
we could definitely get in. I'll reach out to John Bosch. I know him with the Fantasy Care Eliminators. We can get in one.
There you go.
Yeah, mostly all proceeds go to charity. I think it's like $10 to get in, and the winner gets $50. But it's for a great
charity. I like that.
The rest goes for Toys for Tots.
Cool. I like that.
Let's get it back into it. And Justin had mentioned, he has Pollard on his team. And if you play to Pollard, you probably have a good shot at winning this week after the Cowboys win 41-33 over the 49ers. And I can't believe it. It was a shootout to the end of the fourth quarter. It really was.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, and then you got the cheap Hail Mary that boosted Bourne's points at the end there. Like his stat line looked a lot better. But Chef, with Pollard, I know I said yesterday all day, it's still the same O-line, and it's still the same O-line. And it really was the 6 catches for 60 yards that got him, that helped you. You know what I mean? Yeah, the touchdowns, of course, help. But that extra added bonus PPR money, that's free money. And you got to be happy if you picked up Tony Pollard.
Currently RB1 on the week, man. That's just wild.
Monster week.
You might also be extremely disappointed if you played up against somebody who picked up Tony Pollard.
Right. Because I really tempered expectations. That's you.
We have to rest on the positive here, Mr. Swanson.
You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right.
We're congratulating our listeners for playing Tony Pollard, not kicking them down when they play against Tony Pollard.
No, but our listeners are winners, so they're
right. We're all going to the finals, baby. Let's go. And everybody that's still here is
further
here.
Than I did.
We didn't take our own advice sometimes in some of those leagues, Chef. That's what it was.
Well, you may have lost if you played Amari Cooper. Only 2 receptions on 3 targets. I'm in a little bit of a panic mode on this one. Even with CeeDee Lamb, I know he had 5 for 81, but that would only been 13.5 fantasy points. You got bailed out with a special teams touchdown late in the game if you played him. And sheesh. It was
onside kick. That was a cool little play by him to get you those extra 6 points. But you'll take a Chef from a team that previously, I know Gallup didn't do anything. He had 3 for 26 and a touchdown. He didn't do much, but you got killed with, this team dropping balls. They're leading the world in drop balls. And shout out to Corey Spala, who we were talking to earlier today, Chef, all fair.
Yeah.
He's the one that told us that CeeDee Lamb is second to Deontay Johnson in drops. With 7 on the year and 9 to Deontay Johnson. And you're like, oh, Deontay Johnson has the dropsies. Well, so does CeeDee Lamb. And then he gives you a nice little performance. But that wide receiving core as a whole is just struggling. They've never found their footing. The whole DiNucci, Dalton thing. And the biggest one, like you said in the beginning, was Amari Cooper. The disappointment is real.
Yeah, it was. It was disappointing for me.
You didn't draft him for that, yeah.
No, yeah, exactly. You really didn't. He had a couple great games this year, but you didn't draft. His ADP does not reflect how he's going to finish in fantasy.
Yeah, man.
And with the Cowboys going up against the Eagles next week, I'm curious whether or not I do play him. I guess it all depends on what Darius Slay is going to be doing if he's in or out next week. For me,
Slay or Maddox are out, and I haven't actually looked at it yet right now. But if they're both out, then it bumps up their value at the very least.
And on the 49ers side of the ball, Brandon Ayuk, we said to play him everywhere yesterday.
Things. Yep.
And he did not disappoint. 9 receptions on 13 targets, 73 yards, and a touchdown, giving you 22.3 fantasy points. That's just so smooth from Brandon Ayuk.
Solid. And we talked about that yesterday, Jeff. And we also we hyped up Jeff Wilson and Nate Polvuk, who was on with us yesterday and Great Star Airwaves, and he was on with us. He was big on Jeff Wilson, and he saved us with a touchdown because we didn't expect Raheem Mostert to get as much work as he did, Jeff.
Yeah, we were tempering expectations, not knowing how much he was going to be in. But I guess now we know that they really want him to be the prominent back and get things going there. And I think that he just came out of the game later on. Otherwise, if he could have held up, he would have been in there because he came out later in the game. He wasn't playing. He wasn't getting as many snaps towards the second half of the game.
And that's what we were afraid of, the start the game but can't finish the game situation.
And I was happy because I was playing up against Jeff Wilson, and he wasn't doing anything in the first half. I'm like, yeah, let's go. I got this. Yeah. No. He got into the end zone, of course.
Had to save this day.
Yeah. Both tight ends, Jordan Reed and Dalton Schultz, got you a touchdown. Both finished with 9 fantasy points. I don't particularly like Reed next week. If I can't.
Kittle comes back.
Yeah, thank you, Kittle. George Kittle comes back, and he just may. I don't know. Maybe not after losing this matchup.
They both saved you with a touchdown, but it wasn't anything spectacular with those 2 tight ends.
No. Saving you with a touchdown at the tight end position that's
been the whole season. Yeah, it's been the whole season.
Yep, it's been the whole season. I'm gonna look
49ers go up against. They're at the Cardinals next week for your fantasy finals. Moving right along, the Detroit Lions at the Titans. Titans win this one. Man, it was a smash. They win 46-25. King Henry rules all. He just does.
He does, but Tannehill stole the spotlight. Chef, 5 total touchdowns, 3 through the air, 2 on the ground. Like we're starting to see that he's one of those. He's a top 10 quarterback, man. Like, we can't take it away from him, especially in fantasy. He's a top 10 fantasy quarterback. I have to say it out loud.
No, it's a little crazy to think, but here in week 15, he just does it right for you. You weren't expecting it. He didn't have a rushing touchdown all season since last year. He had his last rushing touchdown, and here he gets 2 in this one. So, Ryan.
Back half of the season, he loves helping out people at the back half of the season with their fantasy teams. Isn't that right, Chef?
Yeah. And if it's dynasty, you can trade him for close to a number 1 pick.
It wasn't number 1 pick. It was number 9 overall. That
was a little extreme. And the guy I traded to be honest and modest, he really didn't know what he was doing. But hey, that's what you get for paying attention. But hey, it worked out for him because he had Tannehill and he played him this weekend. He got him 37 fantasy points. So I can't knock him for that. Derrick Henry, what a great stiff arm. I don't know which one was better. The one that he did yesterday or the one that he did up against Josh Norman when they played the Bills. I don't know which one.
The one with Norman, because he put his hand under his armpit and threw him, man. He just threw him like a child.
It looks like a special move. Like, you have to get your special bar up and then go XX, circle, X, triangle, right as it happens.
Yeah. It's like in a Street Fighter move. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like he's got Thor's hammer on the edge of his hand as he just pushes through to defenders, and the cornerbacks, they just can't stand it. Match up against them.
Oh, no shot.
Embarrassing them. Embarrassing them. We talked about Ryan Tannehill, and both Corey Davis and A.J. Brown scored in this one. Davis breaks the 100-yard mark, finishing with 21 fantasy points on the day.
Big 75-yard catch.
Yeah.
That was huge. Yep. And he made Harmon look terrible when he was going for that too, with the stutter step and the stop at the end of it. Like, he had no chance to even contain Corey Davis.
Definitely a comeback candidate.
Comeback player of the year, yeah.
Yeah.
Candidate for fantasy, yeah.
And then on the other side of the ball, Stafford started over Chase Daniel. He was banged up all week. He eventually
unbreakable
left this game. when the game was out of reach. But you still got production from some of the other weapons on the Lions with DeAndre Swift.
Yeah,
15 carries, 67 yards, 2 touchdowns, finished the day with 21 fantasy points. You can't beat that. And the receivers, Juan, even Quentin Cephas got some work yesterday.
Yeah, they all got a little bit of work, but the Marvin Jones situation, like he just saw the uptick in targets and ended up having been able to exploit that, and he had himself a monster game, and you weren't expecting it, Chef. Like it's not a natural thing to just go in there expecting for him to do that, for Marvin Jones to have a game with 10 catches, 112 yards and a touchdown and give you 27.2 fantasy points. That's way exceeding expectations into those championships.
Sometimes those are the accidents that, like, you have nothing left. You're like, oh, I got to roll out Marvin Jones with a banged up Stafford. And it just happens for you. And that's the great part about fantasy football. Just sometimes it's luck. It really is.
It is.
It is.
Yeah. A lot of it is. So,
speaking of luck,
next week, we got Titans at the Packers next week, and Lions and Bucks. Titans. Jeez, oh man, King Henry.
Yeah, the Lions. They're all out of luck against the Bucks.
Yeah, that's not gonna be good. Derrick Henry might break some records next week against the Packers.
Yeah, maybe, but the Packers, the second half, they came on. No, they gave up the second half.
Yeah, gave up.
Yeah, last week on Saturday. So that should be interesting. I of course, it's another Derrick Henry week for the Tennessee Titans.
The Packers were coming into this week. They were 28th against the running back position coming into this week. So this is what I was talking about yesterday, was the chance that Derrick Henry can actually get to Eric Dickerson's 2105. He would have needed to average 191 yards in each of the next 3 games. And now he fell a little bit short. So he's going to have to put up 200-yard games in both of them to have a chance at that. But he's still only like 315, I think, shy of 2,000. So he's going to have a legitimate chance to get to 2,000 yards.
Yep.
And just before we move on to the next game, shout out to Matthew. We see you in the chat, Matthew.
Indeed.
What's up, Matt?
He played against Josh Allen and he still won. Look at this roster. Look at this roster. Kamara, McKissick, Hopkins, Pittsburgh defense, Stephon Diggs. Yeah, Diggs gave you a lot. Bowden at wide receiver, very good. Jared Goff, because it was a 2 QB league. Wow, and he still won.
It's cool the strategy that he uses in his next comment. If you go down there and click on his next comment, it's really cool the strategy that he's using for tonight, because he's up by 4 and he's going to win this thing as long as the Pittsburgh defense doesn't give up negative points. So if you're in that situation, I know the Pittsburgh defense should give someone points and they should be good, especially against Ryan Finley or whatever they're going up against in Cincinnati, right? But if you bench them, you don't have a chance to get negative points and lose this game.
Yep.
It's football.
That's
the Jets beat the Rams. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I'm kind of on the side of making sure that you have a legit person in your roster or player team in your roster.
I mean, absolutely. But if you're up by 4 and you can set the defense, that's a genius move. Don't
get those negative points.
That's like stopping at the 1 yard line so you don't score, so the other team gets the ball back. Like that's
true.
That's a great move.
Yeah, it's a good point.
That's a great move. That's a smart move. Yeah.
You want to hear a horror story? A guy's up by 1.8 points going into a Monday night game. It's the championship week, week 16. All right. It's over. Like, he won. It was Angelo. His name was Angelo. He's done. He won. He won the championship. He starts Tiki Barber on a Monday night. First carry, sweep right, fumble, injured ankle, -2, loses the championship. You don't want to be that guy. Like, you don't want to be that human. You know what I mean? You already won. Just bench the guy. Don't even start him. Like, just, you're good. You won. Bench him.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
100%.
Start your cousin at wide receiver. You know what I mean?
That's why you don't play your starters in week 17. That's why you don't get into fantasy leagues that finish week 17.
Right, but even week 16, like, if you're up, or this week, if you're up, genius move, Matthew Hancock, genius move.
Sir. Absolutely. Right on board with that. All right, you want to get back into some of these matchups from yesterday?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Right. The next one up was the Colts.
Yes.
At home against the Texans, and they show up again against the Texans, winning 27-20. And just like the last time they played, it came down to the end of the game. Deshaun Watson completes to Kiki QT at the 2 yard line, and then QT fumbles the ball. And game over.
Like, Chef, you just said he fumbles the ball, and everybody's been doing it all day long. Can we please say Darius Leonard made an amazing play to come from behind and punch that ball out of there when he wasn't expecting
100%.
to get it? You know what I mean? Like, that's a Pro Bowl, all-pro linebacker play at the end of a game, and that's a difference-maker type of player that's going to help the Colts, and they might be able to surprise some people in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they'll do okay in the playoffs. They have a good team. They have a good squad.
Yeah, when you can run the ball, and I know Jonathan Taylor, like 83 yards doesn't look like the greatest performance, but that's his lowest output in the last 4 games. He's got games of 90, 150, 83. Like, he's killing it right now for you. And you're a little scared going next week against, they do play Pittsburgh, and it's going to be a big game for them against those Pittsburgh Steelers next week.
And we had called Hilton in this one to have a great game. And unfortunately, Zach Pascal out of nowhere snipes 2 touchdowns, 79 yards on 5 receptions for 24.9 fantasy points. No one called Zach Pascal yesterday. Not one person that I was.
Why would you? Like, why would you have? It's
a
his
lottery DFS dart throw.
First touchdown since week 6, and he ends up getting 2 of them. First time he's had more than 5 catches since week 9. Like, it's not somebody he's been down to the practice squad and back up. Like, he's somebody that you're not expecting to have that kind of burn. Michael Pittman, yes. T.Y. Hilton, yes. But you weren't expecting Zach Pascal to do anything for you.
Another one of those guys, man.
Yeah.
Him, Marvin Jones. But Marvin Jones is a little more expected than Zach Pascal.
Yeah, a little more, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And another surprise on the other side of the ball was David Johnson, 8 carries for 27 yards, which was nothing in the running game. But the receiving work, 11 receptions on 11 targets for 110 yards, finished with 23.3 fantasy points. Now, I was in a league going up against David Johnson. I'm like, there's no way David Johnson's going to do good against the Colts. Man, was I wrong.
Yesterday, Shade 721 was on the show. I'm gonna put my shades on for Shade 721.
Yeah, it was Shades.
So he had a question about David Johnson. I forget who the second one was, and the third one was.
It was James Conner was involved in a David Johnson, James Conner question, and that one felt icky. But I don't remember what the other one was with David Johnson. But you had to fade David Johnson. Like, why would you start him against the Colts? How can you expect? We told him to start him because you had the options that he gave. That was what he had. That was where the tilt went. But you weren't expecting 11 catches, bro. Like, that's just not normal.
Nah, that's crazy. It's great to see.
I'm wondering what he'll do for next week up against the Bengals. He should do pretty much the same, right? I guess.
Right. You would think, like, if they found a recipe that kind of works, like, why go away from it? And you knew when Will Fuller went down, there were going to be vacated targets, and you knew there was going to be an opportunity for somebody else to step up, and you were expecting it to be QT, Brandon Cooks, Chad Hansen, like somebody was supposed to do it, but it ended up being David Johnson.
And for your fantasy final, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Swanson.
I was just going to say, I have a really quick question, just to jump back to something real quick, just a yes or no answer, and we'll touch on this on Wednesday, on the Wednesday show. I meant to say it earlier. Ito Smith, do you see value in Ito Smith now going forward that he's been named? Because I forgot we didn't mention that. Do you see value in him?
I was going to ask that question too, Mr. Swanson. I wanted to get the feel from the chef, but I just feel like the Atlanta backfield is something I'm staying away from totally, especially in week 16.
Against Kansas City? Okay. All right.
I'm leaving it alone.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really like it too much either.
I don't blame you. I just want to
cancel that out. They throw the ball so much there.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to.
And he was the lead back. He was the lead back in this game, according to the carry count. And he didn't do much at all, even against the Chiefs. I just don't see it. I don't see it at all.
Yeah, that feels like a shootout potential game. Like, I drafted a lot of players for this in redraft leagues, and I circled this matchup right here. Chiefs versus Atlanta to try to win. And like, I was big on Mahomes in every league I could get him because I think this is a smash, like record-breaking kind of day.
Yeah, I mean, going forward for next week for the Texans, they go up against the Bengals, like we said. Yeah, and I think Deshaun Watson did a great job of spreading the ball around in this one as well. You see QT with 5 receptions, Brandon Cook with 6 receptions. Even Chad Hansen had 2 receptions on 3 targets, got into the end zone, by the way. And he spread the ball around a lot. So I think it's going to be hard to pin if David Johnson gets a similar game like he had this past week. But nonetheless, it is a reassuring sign that he has some life to him still left in the tank.
Oh, you got to flex him next week. I know he'll be a topic of conversation next Sunday morning for those championship tilts and whether or not you want to plug him into your flex spots. or even depending on your need, your RB2 spot. But against the Cincinnati Bengals, let's see what happens tonight and see how they handle, Pittsburgh tonight and watch it. But it's going to be interesting to see if David Johnson is somebody who's viable next week.
Moving on to the next game, and it's the Patriots at the Dolphins.
Fins up.
Yeah, fins up.
I love it.
Low scoring, like we said. The Dolphins, 3 defensive force fumbles and win this one 22-12. Salvin Ahmed, man, 23 carries. Wow.
Chef, it's our first 100-yard rusher in a really, really long time. Like, I don't remember exactly what the number was, but we haven't had a 100-yard rusher in a hot minute for the Dolphins. And we almost ended up with 2 of them, with Matt Breida also showing up in the stats. And we weren't expecting Matt Breida to come out and have himself that kind of a game.
Yeah, I guess the Patriots didn't fix anything in their match, in their short week that they played. They played what, against the Rams the last week, and he got torched by Cam Akers. Then they get torched by Salvin Ahmed.
Him
21.7 fantasy points is great.
Yeah, him and Breida combined for 208 yards rushing. So like it was a monster performance as far as the entirety of the offense. And we've seen it before when Zach Moss and Devin Singletary went for 86 and 82 respectively against the Patriots. Earlier in the year, you've seen it happen. Jeff Wilson got the Patriots in the same game. Jermichael Hasty had himself a nice little game and had like 68 yards. So when they get gashed on the ground, and if you can run the ball, the Patriots can be had. And it's the first time they're missing the playoffs in 20 years. And we knocked them out. We made them go through the gauntlet last year. We beat them week 17, and they had to go through the gauntlet. They didn't get a bye week like they like to get. So they were bumped out of the playoffs last year. And now we just put the nail in Belichick's coffin. Bye-bye. See you next year to the Patriots.
Yeah. And they're not going to get any better with Stephon Gilmore out for the rest of the season. That news broke today. He is done. Patriots play up against the Bills next week. That's a pushover for the Bills in a sense.
Do you think Belichick's about to throw in the towel just so he can
get a better draft pick now?
No, retire so he doesn't have any more losing seasons on his record?
Oh no.
I think he would do it because of his record. I think he might just do it to do it. It might be his time, but we'll see. I mean,
maybe he'll take Bruce Arians' job.
To be honest,
it's going to be interesting, Chef. The Dolphins get next Saturday. They play. We play the Raiders on Saturday night, prime time, in front of the whole world, and that's going to be an interesting game. We don't know about Carr; he may not be back. We need this win to get into the playoffs, and we see some emerging players. Lynn Bowden has been pretty steady. I know he was 6 for 37, but I'll take it. You know what I mean? Like, I'll take whatever he provides for right now. And our defense, man, 20 games in a row forcing a turnover. You had the Miami Dolphins defense, plug them in week and week out, man.
Yeah, they finished with 12 points on the week. It's a great showing by them, and all season they've been doing that. Yeah, they're pretty clutch.
He's been saying this since the beginning of the season, folks. Fins up. I love it.
Yeah, yes, sir. The defense was always going to be real. I had my questions about the offense. I still do. I had my questions about the O-line. Still do. But the defense, I always knew was going to be real.
Yes, you did. All right. So we got who they're playing next week. The Raiders moving on. Chef, Bears, Vikings. Bears win 27.
Can we all just accept that Montgomery is an RB1?
As long as you're okay with accepting the fact that you traded him away.
I know that hurts. It hurts.
I was thinking about you. I was really thinking about you. I know
he finally became what the chef saw and what the chef wanted him to be. He became that.
And it's tough because you had to make the move when you did, and it made sense. But fantasy doesn't always play by paper.
That's dynasty football, man. That's dynasty football. That's how it goes. Like I said, I have a nice what do they call, stable of running backs.
You do.
Miles Sanders, Dalvin Cook.
Oh yeah.
I had David Montgomery. I picked up J.K. Dobbins and Cam Akers, so I'm doing okay for next year.
You're still set at running back. You're fine.
Yeah, and it didn't work out the way I wanted to, but that's the fun of it, and I'll learn how to pivot out of that eventually. I did get Cam Newton out of the deal. We'll see if he stays with the Patriots next season or he moves on to somewhere else. You never know what's going on in that situation.
I love that quarterback carousel, Chef. He could end up with Ron Rivera, Scott Turner in Washington. He could end up in Chicago replacing Trubisky. Like, anything can happen, and it's going to be awesome to follow in the whole offseason.
Dude, that is going to be crazy. What happens if he goes to Washington?
Right.
After if he leaves the Patriots organization, that'd be crazy. Actually,
Opens
I don't know how much he has
Wentz.
left in the tank. But anyway, let's get back to this Bears Vikings game. We're getting off the
Wentz to go to the. Anyway, let's get back to the Bears.
Yeah,
we previewed this game a lot yesterday. It was the focus of a lot of people's attention, like whether or not to start a lot of these guys, Thielen, Jefferson, and Irv Smith, and whether or not Montgomery was going to blow up. And we saw it. We saw a lot of that come true.
Yeah, I kind of missed on the Irv Smith thing, and I thought it was going to be Irv Smith, which it probably should have been, and it wound up being Tyler Conklin, 3 for 57 and a touchdown. I guess that was the difference between him and Irv Smith. Cole Kmet let us down a little bit on the tight end side of the ball. Graham got a couple targets and receptions. But the real story about it was the running backs. Obviously, Dalvin Cook, 24 carries, 132 yards, and another tutty to his resume.
Disappointing
26, day. 26.9 fantasy points. I guess it's not a disappointing day, but David Montgomery beat him out. Unfortunately,
32 carries, Jeff.
32 carries for Montgomery.
For 146. Yeah, that's a nice little stat line. Yeah, the volume is king. The volume is king on that. And Chef, I know like Dalvin Cook, he didn't go for Derrick Henry numbers, but he had 96 yards the first time he played against the Bears, who have a really good run defense. And then he got over 100 again in this game. So he's still Dalvin Cook, and he's still a league winner for you.
He got hurt the first time they played. I think that was when he messed up his groin. I think that was at the game. He messed up his groin.
I think you might be right about that. Yeah,
it may have been, but that's one of the few times he's been under 100 yards this year because he's been pretty steady for you, and he's a league winner. You just didn't expect David Montgomery, like you said, to be an RB1 and a league winner with 32 carries for 146 yards. Like that's league winning stuff right there. And some of those runs look really good.
I think he's RB6 on the year right now, or 7.
I wouldn't be shocked. The way this year's going. Listen, 2 weeks ago, Gio Bernard was like RB14, bro. Like the way that the running back situation's gone this year, it's been absolutely bonkers. Yeah, dude. For a little while there, it was unbelievable. But yeah,
Dalvin Cook is the number 2 running back in PPR formats right now.
Oh, I was talking about Montgomery.
Oh, Montgomery, he's number 6.
There it is. Yeah,
nice. Got it on the 6. Crazy, right?
Get it on a 6. Yeah,
it really is.
We definitely hit on Justin Jefferson, though, guys. We were right about that one in a lot of tilts yesterday. 8 for 104, 18 fantasy points. I like that. And we even talked about Thielen the last time they played, going up and getting 2 touchdowns. He had another touchdown, bailed you out if you did decide to go with Thielen yesterday. But the Bears wide receivers, both Mooney and Allen Robinson, 4 receptions on 5 targets. Mooney scores and finishes with 16 points. That's the second week now that Mooney has had a touchdown. And I don't see it stopping, really.
Up against the Jags next week, would you start him?
Absolutely. I would start him. He's definitely a flex consideration or a wide receiver 3 that you could put into your roster and almost make sure that you're getting some kind of fantasy production from him.
And Chef, we were targeting certain corners all season long, and Chris Boyd was one of those corners that we were targeting from the Minnesota Vikings, and Mooney was able to get the touchdown on him. So yeah, he didn't have a great game, but he produced. And then like going into this week now, going up against the Jags, I think I do like Mooney as a play to be going up against that weak Jags secondary who we saw get exploited by the Ravens, who haven't really been doing much through the air all season.
Yeah, you definitely have to upgrade David Montgomery to finish the fantasy season strong, week 16 strong, along with all the Bears weapons that you've been playing so far.
Yeah. You got to start Allen Robinson, and you got to take a chance on Darnell Mooney if you have him on your roster and stick him in a flex and hope he does well against the Jags.
Yeah, that's a great week 16. Those are great week 16 plugins for sure.
And the Vikings probably not going up against the Saints next week. That's going to be tough.
Yeah.
And one game that was really tough was the tough defensive game of the Seahawks at the Washington football team. The Seahawks win 20-15. Russell only completes 1 touchdown in this matchup. I cannot believe that happened.
Washington D, man. They can make you look silly.
Listen, they've been up Blitz Creek without a paddle for us a few times throughout the year, and they were a defense that we were streaming until it became popular or became evident that you had to have them every single week. But man, Montez Sweat, dude, leading the league in batted balls, and it just so happens that we talked about that the other day. I mentioned it with Chase and Dave Kluge on By the Numbers. he bats a ball in the air and it becomes a Russell Wilson interception. And you don't see many Russell Wilson picks, but that's something that they do. These pass rushers on Washington, they're smart. They're starting to realize if they don't get home, get your hands up in the air, you're 6'6", 250, dude, jump in the air and take away the throwing lane. And they're wreaking havoc on teams.
It works.
Carlos Hyde sneaks in there for a touchdown, takes Carson out of it. Hyde had 2 carries for 55 yards, gets in the end zone on a long one.
Mm-hmm.
He's really the fantasy point leader on the Seahawks. There was really nothing that really struck me as positive here. More so on the Washington side of the ball for fantasy purposes. Best performance of the game was J.D. McKissick, 13 carries, 51 yards. Also caught 9 balls on 10 targets, 56 yards and a touchdown. He finished the day with 25.7 fantasy points. Now that's what you want out of a running back.
Sure is.
Oh, indeed. And he's been like that, Chef. He's been flex worthy. He's been a guy that we've been telling everybody to start week in and week out. Just put him in there for the volume, especially with the receiving work. And he was a pleasant surprise. But I think a bigger surprise, Chef, was your guy, Logan Thomas. Like, that was the guy that really shined.
He is the fantasy hidden gem nominee of the season. I usually find one guy that no one is talking about. And I do my research on him and I dig deep. And Logan Thomas is the guy, man. 13 receptions, 101 yards, 23.1 fantasy points. Ends the week so far as tight end number 2. Who would have thought? Logan Thomas.
Yeah,
please go check out my quick shot on Logan Thomas. And you can see the chef talking about some Logan Thomas and getting in there. Go to at join our circle _ or check out the videos on YouTube.
Or go on fantasyintervention.com. The chef's video will be on there. But it is dope that you called him out, Logan Thomas, and he came through. Like all these tight ends, we've been talking about it. If you get in the end zone, you matter. And he didn't even have to get in the end zone, and he had himself a monster game. And he's tight end too, because Waller was 1, right?
Yes, Waller was 1 on the week so far.
Yeah, he had 150 yards. He's amazing.
The Seahawks get the Rams next week, and Washington goes up against Carolina. And I think Washington can beat Carolina. I think they can.
They're playing for the division, essentially. Yep. They have to win that game, and then they'll be 7-8, and it'll be pretty tough for the Eagles and the Giants to make up ground there.
Well, we can. I'm going to bring that up because I have something interesting to talk about as far as the NFC East and how it could play out. So we'll get there once we get to the Eagles matchup.
All right.
Some other birds.
The Ravens
did their thing against Jaguars. Ravens win 40 to 14. Landslide.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson finally came through. He's playing like Lamar Jackson did last year. Four total touchdowns, 28 fantasy points on the day. He gets all his receiving weapons activated. Andrews, Boykin, and even Des Bryant got into the end zone on receptions. Hollywood Brown. Yes, I said it. Hollywood. You can start calling him Hollywood Brown again. Yep. He's got enough grease. He's done 6 receptions on 7 targets for 98 yards. He got it done for you. The only thing that really makes me upset is the running game. Like, I just wish they would just smash with J.K. Dobbins, Juan.
Yeah, they like to. They're always going to be a running back by committee. They're always going to use that approach, and they're not going to give J.K. Dobbins the love that you and I want to see out of him. Like, it's just not going to happen. Not till next year. I think maybe next year he gets more of the workload. Once Ingram is totally out of there, and they just go with him, and Gus Edwards, then I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, Edwards needs to calm down. He really does. 9 carries for 42 yards, and now he's starting to catch balls, sniping carries and targets. I'm fed up. On the Jaguars side of the ball, not too much to report. You were disappointed with Chark. Unfortunately, only finished the day with 9.3 fantasy points. And even James Robinson had a tough game against the Ravens defense.
He did okay. 16 carries for 35 yards, 3 receptions for 18 yards and a touchdown. 14 points saved you. Yeah, that's definitely
the touchdown did, because 2 yards of carry is not looking real good. 2.25 yards of carry, that ain't looking good, great. But you'll take it.
So you got saved. I guess you'll take it against the Ravens. If you had to start him against the Ravens, you'll take that.
Yeah, I'm not so sure what they'll do against the Bears next week. We already talked about the Jaguars going against the Bears, and the Ravens. They get the Giants, and the Ravens are in contention for that playoff spot, working their way up. A couple things have to happen. Yeah, they have to win out to get it. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go up against the Giants next week. We just saw. We'll get into that game a little bit, but we just saw the Browns just roll right over them. Speaking of rolling,
unreal.
And we're gonna talk about them now. The Jets at the Rams yesterday. The Jets win. What the heck? Like, we already talked about it a little bit at the top of the show, but I don't get it. Is Adam Gase really trying to lose his job? Is that what's going on? Or is he trying to like salvage his next position? Is that what's really
it's either Adam Gase wants to lose his job, or Sean McVay put his entire salary down on the Rams to lose, or on the Jets to win?
Sean McVay at the end of the game in the post-game press conferences thought it was a short week. Like, he misspoke. A guy that remembers what it was on 3rd and 8 and with 14 minutes left in the third quarter in week 7 in a game he doesn't care about 3 years ago. He remembers exactly what happened, what play was called, what the audibles were, but he didn't remember that they were not on a short week this week. Like, he was confused as to whether or not this was a short week. They took this game. I think they took it lightly. The players didn't get the memo. The Jets players are still playing for jobs because they're all auditioning. They're all auditioning for next year. If you're going to have a roster that gets flipped and 20, 30 guys might be out of a job, they all want to play for that next spot to make it on somebody else's team.
Like they're in college again.
And Frank Gore on the ground for the Jets, he's still doing it. And I guess he's still playing for next year because it doesn't look like he's going to stop. 23 carries for 59 yards and a touchdown. This guy just doesn't die.
He wants to secure a roster spot for next year. He wants to play with his son 2 years from now.
Absolutely.
Following around Adam Gase everywhere to every single team Adam Gase has coached, and he just sticks with them. I don't get it. But hey, they got the job done in a game where the Rams should have dominated, and the Rams didn't. We were upset if you played Cam Akers. We apologize for that. 15 carries, 63 yards.
Personally, Mr. Swanson apologizes.
The one bright spot for the Rams was Bobby Trees. 1 carry for 40 yards, which was nice. And then he had 6 for 56 and a touchdown through the air. Finished the day on 21.6 fantasy points. It's just tough. It really is. Jets go up against the Browns next week, and the Rams at Seattle should be interesting.
Huge game, Rams Seattle next week, and it's going to have a lot of fantasy implications. And you're going to want to fire up Bobby Trees, and you're going to have to fire up Cooper Kupp, and you're going to have to trust Akers again next week because if he's the lead back, he's the lead back, man. So we'll be toasted on Sunday.
We saw what McKissick did. Cam Akers is highly capable. They're going to have to figure something out. It looks like the game plan was just way off for the Jets, and the Jets defense really stood up for themselves this week.
They had a block punt. They controlled the clock. They made some clutch third down conversions. Like Frank Gore caught a pass to clinch it at the end of the game. And
maybe it had something to do with them getting rid of their defensive coordinator. And it was a short week last week. It was only 4 days from when they released him. But now they had a full 10 days and a game behind them to deal with the interim. And maybe he was the problem. Maybe Greg Williams was the problem there.
Well, you're calling zero blitzes when you have no business calling zero blitzes, and you know what I mean. Like,
you really shouldn't have been there to begin with, right?
Yeah,
should have been their second win. Actually, this one. They should have beat the Raiders.
This is great here too. Santino, welcome in, man. Thank you for tuning in. Our boy
Santino, what up, homie?
Santino says FanDuel said before week 1, some guy from New Jersey bet $100 that the Jets would win their first game against the Rams week 15, and he won $12,000.
Nice.
That is
now that's a futures bet, bro. Like, really?
Was that Justin in the chat?
Yeah, right?
It was Adam Gase.
It was Justin. That's funny. Yeah, right. It was Adam Gase.
Yeah,
it was Sean McVay. It was Sean McVay.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, when they came in to play the Giants, he placed the bet, and then they went back down.
Yo, that's so funny.
I'm gonna start looking at crazy stuff like that before the season starts next year because who knows?
That's wild.
You know what I mean? That's a crazy bet. I mean, if you have money to put $100 on the Jets to win some crazy, that's great, man. I love it. Santino, we see your other question too about Claypool. We're gonna get to that matchup in a little bit.
Indeed.
and bring all that up.
Let's try to do that. Eagles win. I'm sorry. Eagles lose to the Cardinals.
Are you serious, dude?
Oh,
man. You did that on purpose to me?
No, that was an accident.
What the hell? All right.
I mean, you got a moral victory. Is there not a moral victory?
There is.
Like we know that Hurts is okay now. Like Hurts is real. You're starting him next week. Like Hurts is ready to go.
I mean, we're starting him next week, and
100%. If you have him, you're playing him.
You got to play him next week.
Eagles Cowboys, you have to play him next week.
Yeah, fire him up.
We almost pulled this one out, man. Cardinals win 33-26. Jalen Hurts, big bright spot for us. Greg Ward was the other bright spot for the Eagles, not Miles Sanders. Welcome back.
Well,
the thing is Greg Ward
Rager got a little messed up. Rager was in and out in this one. He got a little chipped up at some point. I think that's why you saw more targets to Ward, but it could continue for sure.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? We'll see. Quez Watkins, honorable mention for this week, scores his first NFL touchdown. If you started him in DFS or if you're in a super, super, super deep league, he's probably less than 1% rostered, but 13 fantasy points, that'll work. And Jalen Hurts, currently QB1 on the week, 24 of 44 for 338 and 11 carries, 63 yards on the ground for 1 touchdown as well. 34.82 fantasy points against the Cardinals. You absolutely roll him out next week against the Cowboys, and definitely feels good to be on the Eagles side of the ball for the future anyway.
Yeah, we mentioned Miles Sanders. I don't think he did a bad job, but I want him to get more run yards per carry. 17 carries, 64 yards. Didn't get much in the passing game. I want that to start picking up, or Sanders may be a fade next year.
It depends on how they're going to decide to run the offense, whether it's going to be like how they're going to run the offense with Jalen Hurts to really kind of determine what Miles Sanders' value is going to be next year. So
I think he'll still be an RB1, Chef. I wouldn't be too crazy with getting rid of him in the offseason or downplaying him too much. I think it's just a case of them getting acclimated, getting the offense going. They played the Saints last week, and he got over 100 yards with that long 80-yard touchdown. So like he's gonna produce, and that's close to 4 yards a carry, 17 for 64. So that's what you want to see. He probably just missed having one of those breakout 15, 20-yard runs, and you just didn't get that from him yesterday. I
agree with that. I can get on board with that.
And on the other side of the ball, Kyler and Hopkins gets it done. Hopkins, like you said before, Chef, Hopkins broke out of the bush. Yeah. They finally used DeAndre Hopkins for what he is.
A full route tree for Hopkins this week, and you're excited to see it.
Definitely.
Something was wrong with that Kyler shoulder. Give me a different reason than the last 3 weeks. None of those throws were being made other than he was injured, and they were bringing it back slowly and just, kind of tempering the offense.
They were even milking his shoulder. Yep. Yeah. But anyway, Hopkins crushed it. 169 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, the one.
Woo. 9 receptions. Nice.
It's going to be close at the end, whether it's him or Devontae Adams, who's the wide receiver 1 on the year. But Devontae Adams, I think, missed too much time. I think Hopkins ends up taking the number 1 wide receiver title at the end of it. Him or I guess Tyreek doesn't stop scoring. So
maybe Tyreek.
Problem.
Devontae Adams, he didn't have a great game this week, did he?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So who knows, man? That could be close.
Him in check.
It's definitely not Michael Thomas. Sorry to anybody who drafted Michael Thomas in their first round. Genuinely feel terrible.
R.I.P.
Oof. R.I.P. And Evans gets the work over Kyler, 11 carries for 47 yards, 3 out of 5 receptions for 19 and a touchdown. Chase got you 15.6 fantasy points, man. That'll help.
Yeah, I think that the touchdown really changed it otherwise. Drake, 10 carries, 26 yards. They weren't really getting it done on the ground, and they led to the receipt. They leaned on their receiving options more to win this ball game because the Eagles were putting up a fight on the ground.
We kind of knew that was going to be the script as well, just because of our corners being out. Why would you not attack? You know what I mean? Why would you not go to your receivers? So
I'm not going to run it at Fletcher Cox if I can throw it.
Kind of, I guess, what you expect here. Yeah, even Fitzgerald got in. He scored. He had 12.5 fantasy points, 3 out of his 4 catches for 35 yards. He's, another
first touchdown on the year, too. He's got 121 on his career, but I think it's his first one this year.
Which means Larry Fitzgerald finishes the fantasy season with more touchdowns than Michael Thomas. #2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
Michael Thomas didn't get one touchdown?
Not a single
None.
touchdown.
Wow.
This many.
Isn't
We were
that crazy?
tied.
Yeah.
He and I were tied, for touchdowns.
That's even better, to put it that way. I like
And
that.
my percentages are better because he ran a lot more routes than I did. You know what I mean?
So next week, the Eagles get the Cowboys, as we mentioned. Cardinals, Eagles fly to Dallas, take on the Cowboys. Cardinals take on the 49ers at home. Jalen Hurts next week is a start for sure. I think most of your Eagles, depending on a lot of your Eagles are going to be starts next week against the Cowboys. The Birds are still playing for a playoff position, and here's kind of how it breaks down. So if with a win against Dallas next week, and if the football team loses to Carolina, the Giants at best go 1-2, and they already lost. So if they win one of the next two,
Well, I don't think they're going to beat the Ravens this week.
right? So a win against the Washington football team in Week 17 clinches a crisp NFC East victory at 6-9-1. The one being the catalyst with the 6-10 Giants and football team, a 6-9-1.
So you need the football team to lose to Carolina next week.
Correct.
100%. You need that.
And then we need to beat the football team in Week 17. That's what it's really coming down to. And now with the emergence of Jalen Hurts, it went from a debilitating, crushing season to all of a sudden there's hope with a losing record, which is just again, hashtag 2020. What is going on?
Well, the way you guys play the Cardinals, theoretically the Cardinals are a playoff team, or the Rams are a playoff team, or the Seahawks are a playoff team. Yeah. If the Eagles get in there, throw the record out. You're just playing a game in the playoffs, and you might be playing it in the rain or in the snow or in a weird situation. And who knows? Any given Sunday, the Jets just won a game. The 6-9-1 Eagles can definitely win a playoff game and bump somebody.
Yes,
that'd be something to see.
It would be something.
And speaking of playoff teams, the Chiefs at the Saints.
We won. The Chefs.
The Chefs win 32-29. Mahomes did Mahomes things, man.
Yeah, 26 for 54 and 3 touchdowns. Finished the day with 23.8 fantasy points. And had to lean in the air because his lead running back went down in this one. High ankle sprain. Maybe out for the rest of the regular season, but lucky for them, they got Lev Bell, who picked up where CEH left off.
Yeah, he was efficient, Lev Bell, in CEH's absence. And Chef, that injury looked a lot worse. Like, didn't it look like it was going to be a lot more than that? Like, I thought something was going, the groin maybe was ripped, or maybe a hip situation.
It's a high ankle sprain and a hip. There's 2 injuries on the play, I believe.
Yikes.
So he's really banged up.
Well, he's out this week for sure.
Yeah.
You won't have him in your fantasy championship.
No, but you could play Lev Bell. That's something that, if you have to, up against the Falcons, I really don't like it too much. But he got it done in this one. 15 carries, 62 yards, and a touchdown. Like we talked about, Mahomes did Mahomes things. And what Mahomes does is he utilizes Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, both finishing over 17 fantasy points. Kelce keeps crushing it, 8 for 68 and a touchdown. They're just so good, man.
Kelce tight end won 5 years in a row. I don't know if that's ever happened.
Isn't Kelce leading the league in receiving yards as well?
In receiving yards?
Total receiving yards, Travis Kelce is the number 1 wide receiver, or the number 1 receiver in the league. Like, believe it or not.
I'm sure it's close.
Yeah, I think he was 1 and Tyreek was 2, and he was actually ahead of Tyreek in this game by 15, so he just widened the gap a little bit.
Pass it time.
I know it sounds crazy, but you know how I am with, like, certain things stick to my brain, and I'm pretty sure that Travis Kelce's leading the league in receiving yards.
DeAndre Hopkins.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh, now I'm with
13-24. Yeah.
Oh, after this game.
Yes, because
possibly.
Yeah, because what's Kelce?
Kelce is 2 with 13-18. So it's
because he just went off for 167. That's where he made up the difference. But yeah, it was Travis Kelce.
To have a tight end at number 2, and you probably got him in after DeAndre Hopkins in the draft.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, you can't be complaining about that. He's pretty much a wide receiver 1 for you in your tight end spot.
Yeah, he came into the week as the leading receiver in the league. Yeah.
I love looking at this, man. Justin Jefferson. 8.
4? Oh, 8. All right.
8, but still, man. 8.
Yeah.
Why didn't we draft him? Why? Such is
don't
football.
remind me.
Kirk Cousins. That's why.
Yeah.
I picked up Jalen Hurts in a dynasty rookie draft instead of Justin Jefferson, so I can't complain too much. But
no. It's dynasty.
There's reasons.
Yeah. So on the other side of the ball, how'd Breeze look? How do you think Breeze looked coming back from IR? Look, all right.
He did okay. I mean, 234 and 3 touchdowns. He did okay, especially without Michael Thomas. Without his main target being there, I think he did okay. But he's not going to have Michael Thomas back. So how much do you trust him going down the road? I like we said, I thought you would see his floor. We saw Taysom Hill mixed in a little bit, even with Jameis Winston being a scratch for this matchup. So I don't know how much you can trust him going forward. I don't know. We saw Trubisky tear up the Vikings cornerbacks in this week. Does Breeze do the same thing?
I don't know. Hurt too.
He got hurt. He was banged up. I'm not sure about Manny Sanders. I don't know how this is gonna play out for that. 15 for 34 is not typical Breeze. His completion percentage is way down. He's never under 50%. That doesn't look good. And the arm strength didn't look great. And you expect a little bit of that when you first come in, but
he probably still has some problems with pain and everything like that as well. I'm sure he's still feeling something. He has to be.
You have to be as a human being. I know, it's just another one of those Matthew Stafford situations where they're just
11 broken ribs is a tough ass to come back from. And he couldn't have been throwing too much, and he couldn't have been out there working out and lifting weights and doing all that stuff to get himself ready.
He's the Iron Man. He's Cal Ripken.
Yeah, well, he just keeps leaning on Alvin Kamara, and Alvin Kamara produced 11 carries for 54, 3 receptions for 40, and a touchdown. Didn't let fantasy owners down this week, but definitely a lower score than you'd want from Kamara. Usually he's up there in the 20s.
Especially with Drew being back, with Breeze being back, because with Taysom Hill, there's always that question mark. Breeze comes back, you think it's an instant uptick in targets or in fantasy points. So a little disappointing, but still positive.
I think we have to remember too that they were going up against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs put up points really fast, and you have to put up points against the Chiefs to make that happen. So throwing the ball downfield was something that Breeze was going to have to do, and he was limited in doing. Therefore, the Chiefs, they get the win, and we don't see the receivers do that well. We see Kamara doing a little bit, and that's it. That was pretty much that game in a nutshell. And I don't want to talk about the next game because I'm mad about the next game.
All right, we'll talk about it for you.
Do it to him, Mr. Swanson. What could you expect, Chef? What did you like? I mean, realistically, what else could have happened other than 20-6 Browns? What else could have transpired? If you don't have Danny Dimes, and that team's on a roll right now, and they're playing pretty well.
Yeah, man. I have been able to.
We faked a kick to throw it to the center in the end zone.
That's a good point.
With the punter,
what?
yeah, or with the punter.
Yes.
Yeah, you take the 3.
The center, the shortest guy on the offensive line.
Take the 3, then take the 3 again, and then it would have been a different football game. I understand. So a little bit of gambling, but you're facing a team that just put up, 4 passing touchdowns in the first half against the Titans. They've been lighting it up. They've been scoring points. You needed to be able to keep pace. Without your Bradbury and without some of the secondary people, you're banged up, and you were expecting some sort of shootout. So the judge tried to maximize the situation. He tried to make the most out of it.
You guys are a tough defense. You're a tough defense, but they couldn't get off the field, and that's it's tough. The offense kept giving back up. They had to get back out there. So it's a tough matchup. It's a tough finish.
Yeah, we had players out, like Juan said, and that's a good point. And the Browns were 100%. Denzel Ward was in this one finally.
And
we were waiting for his return, and he definitely made a difference. Shepard's numbers suffered for that. Leading fantasy scorer for the Giants, to make it obvious, 4 receptions on 9 targets for Darius Slayton. He got 74 yards. That was the best fantasy productive player for the New York Giants yesterday, even more than the quarterback. So. Yeah, but there's no reason to talk about the Giants side of the football right now.
So we'll jump over to the other side of the ball.
It's terrible. Yeah, stay on the Brown side of the ball. At least I own some Baker shares. I'm happy about that.
See, there you go.
good. 297 for 2 touchdowns, consecutive weeks where he's almost hitting 300 yards. I like what I see from Baker Mayfield. Juan, you called him about 4 weeks ago saying that you had hope and faith in Baker Mayfield. He was one of your hopes or nopes, right? And he was a hope for you and to ride through the fantasy playoffs. And you hit him on the money, man. He's using all his weapons. Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, both had great games. And then they lean on Nick Chubb like they normally do, especially later in the game.
And I thought they would go to Hunt too.
Yeah, they like to milk the clock with those running backs, and that's going to be their approach. You know what I mean? Always, forever, and always with Stefanski there. But yeah, Baker, it was a lot to do with Chef with the matchups, and I didn't expect Bradbury to be out, so this wasn't one of the games that I was targeting for him to have a monster game. But he ended up being sufficient, and I didn't expect 4 touchdowns like he did against the Titans in that first half. I haven't been, I wasn't ready for that. But he's held his own, man, and he's played pretty well down the stretch here, and he might be somebody you can trust going forward.
Yeah, I like the way that he spreads the ball around and just looks for the open receiver. And once again, he's only had 1 turnover last week, correct? They had 1 interception, 1 fumble that they didn't give up. Mm-hmm. So he's trying to control the ball pretty well. He's only had 2 turnovers in the past 4 weeks. That's something that we wanted to see from him develop nicely, and he's scoring touchdowns. So what else do you want? He's got a great matchup next week against the Jets. And I think he can get it done again for you if you're streaming. If he is available on your waiver wire, he is definitely a candidate. And I believe he was an option on the waiver wire heroes last week.
He should have been, Chef, and that was somebody you have to target. These kind of guys that are going to be able to go on a run towards the end of the season, and you see a favorable schedule and you see some nice matchups towards the end of the season, and you got to take a chance on him. And ever since he got out of the rain, remember Mr. Swanson, like he was playing in those sideways rain games.
It was like 4 of them in a row, yeah.
Right, like 4 in a row. After he's got out of that, he's been great.
Yeah, he wasn't on that one. That's the wrong week.
That's the wrong week right there.
Oh no, you had it right. I had it right. Okay. He wasn't on that one though.
He wasn't on. Okay,
he was a waiver wire hero weeks ago,
which means he should still be on your roster, which becomes he's your regular hero, your regularly scheduled hero. It's a bird.
That means he was a ride or die. That's pretty much what he turned into. He turned into a ride or die, and you're happy riding with him, especially against the Jets next week. And as we talk, the Giants at the Ravens. That's going to be another tough one. I would temper expectations for all my fantasy options from the Giants team.
All of them. Gallman, Evan Ingram, everyone. I would temper expectations on all of them next week.
Yeah.
You think Danny Dimes plays next week?
I probably. I don't know why. I think they should just sit him for the rest of the season.
I mean, there's still.
If you're throwing in the towel, then yeah. But if you think you can still win this division, like why wouldn't you gotta try?
You still can. There's
still a shot. There's still a shot, and I think Joe Judge takes that shot after they lose the next one against the Ravens, then they'll be out pretty much. And that's what it is. I think we should start looking at draft picks here. I mean, let's be honest. You're still building for the future.
You need more O-line, you need D-line, you need a lot of help, you need different places. So yeah, I agree.
Our O-line is very young, so it's going to take some time for them to gel, and it's their first season of playing with everybody, and most of them are rookies, for gosh sake.
Hey, listen, Andrew Thomas held his own. I know Myles Garrett with the COVID thing, like he's saying,
no,
great job. To kick off week 15, to end week 15, 2020.
Oh, who did I just give it to? I don't know who I just gave it to.
I was just going to say something about a player, and I'm not even going to say it.
I just tested negative today, so I don't have a problem.
The 2020 excuse that Myles Garrett is giving for his performance against Andrew Thomas yesterday. I'm so heartbroken that I said that, man. I made it through. What week are we in? We're in week 15.
15
going on week 16, and I finally made the mistake. Oh Lord.
Well,
I'm so sorry. Whoever they announced this week, I'm so sorry to you, man.
Oh wait, you said you have players going in the finals, Juan? You better watch your roster. Because that's what happened to me with Mark Andrews.
Don't make it worse. That's definitely going to be on my roster.
I said it. Mark Andrews went out.
Oh, all right.
I'm so hurt. So Myles Garrett said that against Andrew Thomas, the reason that he struggled is because he was fatigued due to 2020 and that his lungs still aren't 100%. He's still not right. But Andrew Thomas did great for himself, and you got a good, nice tackle for the future, Chef. I'm done. I'm heartbroken now.
All right, after that heartbreak, let's get into the Monday Night Football matchup.
Let's do it.
The Steelers are without James Conner in this one, and at the beginning of the week, the line was Pittsburgh giving 13. They probably went down a little bit with James Conner out. Over under was 40 points, and I really don't see the Bengals putting up too much against the Steelers here.
This is a big one, Chef, because a lot of people have that Pittsburgh defense. A lot of people have Juju and Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool and Eric Ebron and Big Ben, and we need big games from these people.
So Santino was asking earlier, hopefully, Santino, thank you for hanging on. So how do you feel about Claypool tonight? He's up by 25 with him playing against me. I feel like you're good.
You should be. Barring some kind of big play, because we have those bonuses in certain leagues, like barring big plays.
Is that in that league?
Yeah, it's in the cut. The cut above league. But yeah, I would temper I don't think Claypool gets 25 points, but anything is possible with the bonuses, and that's scary against the Bengals defense.
That is true.
Well, the whole thing, how the Pittsburgh operation has been working is they can't run the ball. Okay, We've seen it with Connor. We've seen it with Snell. They've even worked in Jalen Samuels and McFarland in the passing game, and they just can't get it done. So what do? They throw the ball. Deontay Johnson, Claypool, both have great matchups against the perimeter. On the perimeter this week, I think Juju has been getting involved as of late, and Ebron probably is a good play too up against Cincinnati, right, Juan? That's what we say. So all the receiving options get a bump here against the Bengals anyway, and then I think with the running game being limited, I think maybe James Washington comes in for a couple jet sweeps. Maybe they get Deontay Johnson involved that way. Claypool has ran into the end zone this year as well. So I think we could be looking at something like that. But the Steelers have been known to play to their opponent like they did against the Cowboys.
And the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Yeah, they play certain teams like down to the level. And Chef, like Ray McLeod on jet sweeps and gadget plays, like a lot of things that they like to do to compensate for the lack of a running game. And that's been their MO like the entire season.
Yeah, I'm staying away from all Pittsburgh running options. And you've probably already pivoted anyway. And it was a late call today that James Conner was going to be out. So you weren't relying on him. I took him out and I played Traquan Smith. Remember? Yeah, that did not work. I lost.
Well, that was an injury thing. That was,
Yeah, I really didn't have too much of a better option, and all my other options didn't score more than Traquan anyway. I think he got like 5 points.
So with the lack of a running game, Juan brought this up on Wednesday when we were doing our fantasy staying alive, and Juju was Juan's guy, correct?
Correct.
One of your guys for
staying alive. He was one of my guys.
The running game as a slot receiver, he could be the benefactor against the Bengals tonight.
100%. And he has been, like, he was, I think wide receiver 21 was what the number was coming into this week. And he was either 19 or 21, and Mike Evans was the other number. They were close there. But he gives you that opportunity. Like, he's going to be the slot guy. He beefed up for that role. So it's basically an extended running play when you throw those screen passes and those bubble screens and do those jet sweeps. You're basically running the ball. You're just, the quarterback gets the credit for it because he threw a short little pass. So that's the way they're going to be able to compensate. And going up against the Bengals, like, any one of their corners can be had, the slot, anyone. We saw Gesicki have his best game. We saw Ingram have his best game. So it couldn't, like, the exception of Dalton Schultz in the last few weeks, everybody's been great, all the tight ends. So Ebron could eat this week and have a monster game tonight.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a landslide here. I think the Steelers just roll them. It's 11-2 against 10-1. The numbers speak for themselves. The Bengals are totally out of contention. They're playing with their third string quarterback with Ryan Finley. And what we saw on the Cincinnati side of the ball when Finley was in week 11 and 13, Boyd had good games.
That's who I was going after, Shep. We're going to pick on Mike Hilton again, man.
Yeah, I think you can, Higgins or Boyd, I think have good options. I know Boyd had a touchdown in week 13 before he was ejected in that one. That was a crazy wild game.
Yeah,
that was against my Dolphins. Yeah, he had a 72-yard touchdown.
All you're trusting you're not trusting Gio Bernard unless you really have to.
No, you can't trust any Bengals running backs, right, Mr. Swanson? Like, no.
I don't think so. I mean,
Gio Bernard or Traquan Smith.
It's been a weird week, man.
Traquan Smith and the 5 points. No, I don't know. No, Gio might get more than
yesterday or Gio Bernard tonight.
Yeah, I think the 5 points from yesterday. No, Gio could end up getting more than 5 points. I mean, it's just 5 points.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
But Boyd is an interesting play today against Mike Hilton. Boyd's a really good play.
Yep, we'll see how the game strip goes. I think they're going to have to play catch up against the Steelers, and they have been able to make some moves against the wide receivers have been able to make some moves against them. So it should be interesting. I'm looking forward to watching this one.
Hey, real quick on a tilt question, like everybody else is saying, I am up by 24 points, and I'm going against the Steelers defense and Boswell, the kicker. Do I win?
Up by 24 points going up against the Steelers defense and Boswell.
Mm-hmm. ESPN kind of standard type scoring, PPR, but standard scoring, whatever.
I feel like it's
going to be close.
It's going to be tight, isn't it?
24. I think you win. At least I think you win by 6. I think they can get 18 points together. You know, if they get a couple touchdowns though, you're going to be in trouble.
18 points sounds about right.
Get in trouble because I think I can almost guarantee Boswell at least kicks 2 field goals, and if they're long ones, you might be in trouble there.
You got to figure 2 field goals. All right, 2 field goals, 3 extra points. So that's 9 points right there, and then around that amount of points from your defense if they don't force a fumble and get into the end zone. Oh boy.
It's kind of cool though. It's my cousin Jeremy that I'm playing against. That's in the family league, and I made it up. If I beat him, he's 12-1. If I beat him, I go to the finals against the 12-1 team. And then in our old dirty, I'm playing Irish Keith, and he's 12-1. So I'm battling giants here going into the next couple of weeks. But I love it.
You're holding your own though.
Yeah,
absolutely.
What's that one look like? Speaking of the home league, what's that score look like?
Looking at that matchup right now. Oh wow!
Oh, I won already. I'm talking about next week. Yeah, and I already beat Ryan. He's gone. Yeah. Right, so I already won that. I'm in the finals. Yeah.
I'm looking at week 16 here.
But you know what though? Keith actually still needs points from Big Ben. He needs Ben to play and have more than like 10, 15 points. Like he needs him to do a little bit of work in order to win. Similar to earlier, what was it? Matthew Hancock that had the 12.2 that he needed, or 12.42 that he needed from Ben. I think Keith is in the same.
I think Ben's got 20 points in the bag, easy.
Yeah, Trey has 12.42.
Oh, Trey S. Yeah, 12.42.
All right, guys. I think that about wraps it up.
Who we got in this game? So it's easy. The Steelers, right? This isn't one of those Monday nights where the game's in question. Steelers have to win this game.
We haven't done this in a while.
I know. Wins? We never do.
Or the line or anything like that.
Yeah, all that type of stuff.
I looked up an updated line. I mean, this was put together on Saturday, so.
Yeah, 40 and a half.
Who scores first touchdown, Mr. Swanson?
Oh, he always gets this. Oh, this dude always gets this. I love this one because he always gets this right.
Who scores first? I'm honestly stuck between Ebron and Juju.
You know, funny enough, Juju was tied for number 2 in coming into this week. He was tied for number 2 in the league in red zone targets. So
with
that's
Calvin Ridley, right?
No, with Mike Evans.
Mike Evans.
With Mike Evans, yeah.
So the spread is now.
I'm gonna say Juju.
I like it.
I'm gonna say Juju Smith-Schuster scores first, and I guess I gotta put some action on it.
I'm gonna make myself a couple bucks, and I'm gonna say Ray McLeod. Since I said his name earlier, I feel like that's going to be the weird guy that scores, the random scorer. Unless it's Jalen Damn Samuels, because it is week 15 and the
Ray McLeod is plus 4,500 right now.
I love it.
Wow.
That's the long shots.
That's cool. I like that. Juju's only plus 800, but whatever. Eric
to
Ebron
score first,
12.
I would take Deontay Johnson or Claypool.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think Deontay Johnson is probably sick of hearing things, and I think maybe he has to do something to get his hands right so everybody shuts up.
I'm going to go Claypool on that. I think Claypool scores first touchdown. Okay. Yeah, and the line has been updated. The Pittsburgh Steelers are giving the Bengals 15 points, over under only at 40.5.
I like the over on that, Chef. I feel like it's either way. It's, NFL franchises. I feel like that I mean, it's 31-10. You're over.
Cold game. They're probably not going to be moving the ball too much.
28-13. You're over.
Playing in the cold.
27-14, you're over. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's almost like
but do the Bengals actually score 2 touchdowns? I don't think they do. I think maybe at most they scored 10 points.
So 31-10, you're over.
I don't think the Steelers are putting up 31 points.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, I think I would go with the under on this one, to be honest. It's low.
Really watch this game.
It's low, but I think it winds up being like 24-10 or 28-10.
That's under.
Okay.
All right, I like it.
Yeah, 28-10 sounds about right.
Okay.
With
I
the
think
spread.
it's NFL. I'm going over. I'm hoping it's over, damn it, because we need some excitement. You know what I mean? Otherwise, by halftime, we're trying to find something else to do.
Firing up the PlayStation at halftime.
See on the Fortnite.
Indeed. Right.
All right, boys.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, let's take us out.
Hey, Justin, Becton over Thomas, he says in the comments. Becton's a mountain, man. He's one of my favorite players to watch in the combine and the whole draft process.
Don't stir up anything, Justin. I was just starting to get to like you, man. Don't talk
Becton over
Thomas, man.
I love Matthew Hancock here saying Tilt versus the fans next year. Book it. Let's go. This is so fun, man. This is gonna be sick.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Wait, hold on 1 second here.
I'm excited now that we just came over this that we're going to do the Tilt League.
We'll manage one team and we can get 11 of the viewers.
Sure. And like everybody versus the Tilt.
Versus the Tilt. I like that too. But I definitely want to do one where we all have our own team, but that's definitely good.
Yeah.
I like that with that idea too.
We can do both. You know? It's going to be fun.
I've never shared a team. That would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
That would be really interesting.
That's dangerous.
I mean, and listen, we wouldn't even be, I know, right? We wouldn't even be talking about this if it wasn't for you guys that tune in every week. So like, I know we say it at the end of every episode, but like I get chills. I get like welled up when I think about it. It's amazing that you guys keep coming back, whether or not we're right or wrong. Thank you so much. And we will be with you for the whole rest of the year after football is over and then back in full force for the Tilt Squad for the 2021 season as well. So on behalf of I know it's not quite over yet, going into week 16, on behalf of myself, Juan, and Chef, thank you so much for making this a real season to remember for us. This has been amazing, and it's just been so much fun to be able to do this stuff with you guys, with the fans, and with the two of you. So thank you very much. You can find me on Twitter at FFJohnJAWN Swanson.
My man. Yo, exactly what Mr. Swanson said. My sentiments exactly. We love you guys. We do this for the fans. We do this for the viewers. We want to help people. We want to, make our educated decisions. And I have a notebook full of stupid little numbers, and I try to memorize all these stats so that I can properly guide people. And a lot of you are in your finals, and a lot of you are in your championships. And we were happy that we were able to play a small role in that. And we'll see you guys on Wednesday. We'll be doing, actually tomorrow, the chef is going to have his Waiver Wire Heroes a show, and he'll let you know about that.
Fantasy intervention.
There you go. And then Wednesday, we'll be back with our Tilt podcast, and we'll be doing our Christmas special. So tune in. You know what I mean? So tune in for that. And this is a big week because Friday is going to be the day where we will have officially had football on every single calendar day during this season. So the silver linings of 2020 is football on every single individual day. And, that's it. I'm Juan Carlos Pena at FF1 of a Kind. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. And take it out, Chef.
Oh, like Juan said, he brought you up to speed, taking us out.
Love it, Santino.
Tuesday, 4:00 on at Fantasy Intervention on YouTube, at Join Our Circle _ on Twitter. Come check out the Waiver Tilt with Chase, Vern, Poll Vote, and myself. We'll be going over our waiver wire sheet. I'll try to have it up early for you guys. I know it's the week 16. You want to make sure your roster is right. You want to get in those best bids, especially if you still have fab or have a high waiver claim. You've been saving it up for this moment. It's the fantasy finals. This is how we're going to kick off the fantasy finals. Thank you for tuning in with us. And Wednesday, Christmas special. Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho.
Let's go. Let's go. I'll probably be wearing some kind of annoying Christmas sweater. I think I could dig one up.
I'm sure you
Should
can.
Be fun. Yeah. Ellen, Anyway, thank you, everybody. You can find me at FF_chef on Twitter. Don't forget to check us out at The Tilt is Real on Twitter as well for the Fantasy Football Podcast. Everything that The Tilt is Real, find it on social media at YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We're jamming because of you guys, the fans, and we'll check you out next time. Thanks. Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tilt is Real Fantasy Podcast. Like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Check out our website at thetiltisreal.com for more great fantasy football content. We'll catch you guys next time on The Tilt is Real.